Contemporary Literary Criticism, The Handmaid's Tale, 1997, by Louise Fouer. Here's some key points. The article by Fouer compares The Handmaid's Tale to different dystopian novels, especially 1984 by George Orwell. Margaret Atwood focuses on the theme of gender and power. Unlike other dystopian novels, Atwood went further into the characters' emotions and thoughts. This adds a more relatable touch to her novel compared to other dystopian novels. Quote number 1. This quote is about the government, the Gilead, and 1984's government taking the freedom of creativity from the people by removing access to literature. With 1984 abolishing the rights to books in total, with Harvard being a place for torture and not a place of knowledge, which shows how artistry and intelligence was taken away. The government wanted to take away the freedoms of individuality and creativity in order to maintain control and prevent a revolution by the people. Quote number 2. Both Serena and Phyllis advocate for positions seemingly different to their own roles or interests. The government forces women to care for and keep the men happy, so the women have no freedom to speak their mind or share opinions. In America, before the first wave of feminism, women were not allowed to work and had to tend to their husbands' needs. This is similar to The Handmaid's Tale and the expectations of women. Both in American history and in the story, women didn't know there was another option. They didn't want to start an argument, therefore they did what they were told. Quote number 3. This quote suggests that the stylistic elements of Margaret Atwood's writing serve a deeper purpose beyond just the aesthetics or the narrative choices. Characters, societal structures, and the themes are developed in a multidimensional manner, showing the narrative and encouraging deep reflection on the resistance. Unlike other dystopian novels, she focuses more on the characters and their journeys throughout the novel versus focusing on the government and how it functioned. A positive from her style is that her characters are more relatable because they have more depth. Quote number 4. 1984 does not discuss the past because the main characters do not remember the past. This cuts off any sense of hope and cuts off any connection to a past life. In contrast, The Handmaid's Tale talks about Offred's life before her husband and child. This moves the story forward by showing hope for the future by remembering the past. May Day was hope for things to go back to the way they were before Gilead took over. Knowing the past and having a sense of relatability can help the characters rely on each other. Quote number 5. With the Gilead overtaking American democracy by showing the CIA's own playbook shows that feeling of needing to cause destruction on others. This can backfire and lead to self-destruction. The commander's wife, Serena Joy, was not fond of Offred, which could have been a part of the cause of the relationship between the commander and Offred. In the novel, there is always someone who is not there to support, but instead there to destroy you. On the contrary, Offred had to trust Nick to hopefully be freed from her role as a handmaid. Quote number 6. With the lack of individuality in the Gilead, there is no room for mistake. The Gilead fears that with individuality, there will be revolts against the government. No differences means no change, and that's what the Gilead wants. Differences make each of us our own individual people, and if we're all individualized, then the government would not work the way that the Gilead would want it to. Quote number 7. Color is very important in this novel, especially the color in the clothing. Red symbolizes the color of blood. The handmaids are required to wear red, so when the handmaids are used to reproduce heirs for the men in the higher society, if a handmaid gets her period, then that's a sign of failure. And if she cannot get pregnant, then she is useless to the government. After the third time a handmaid is not able to reproduce, she will be killed or sent to the colonies. This shows that the government really does not care what happens to these women as long as they get what they want. Quote number 8. There is always multiple sides to every story. This makes the truth hard to come out. The end of the novel, Tess Offridge trusts in Nick. In the end, because she doesn't know if he's telling the truth. In the end, we never find out if she is freed from her duties as a handmaid or she was brought to the government and killed. Another example of this is Aunt Lydia telling the girls not to speak unless spoken to. This helps the girls stay safe. Aunt Lydia seemed to care for the girls very deeply and wanted them to stay safe in their new homes. In present day, the same situation is present. There are always different perspectives and perceptions to every story. So you can never be very true if some very confident in others or yourself that someone is telling the truth. An overview on the article, Fleur seemed to be a fan of Atwood's work in The Handmaid's Tale. She talks about how she shows different perspectives of the dystopian genre. She compared the novel mostly to George Orwell's 1984, but Fleur felt that The Handmaid's Tale was much stronger than other dystopian works. Overall, Fleur thought The Handmaid's Tale was an amazingly written book because of all the details she put into each character and less so into the government. Thank you.